Hi, I'm Doug McKinlay and you're watching Adorama TV. As you can see from behind me, we're in central London, on the banks of the River Thames. Great architecture, great history, perfect for making great panoramic pictures.
Adorama TV presents Stay Focused with Doug McKinlay.
Hi, I'm Doug McKinlay and you're watching Adorama TV. Today we're in central London, along the banks of the River Thames. What we're going to do today is look at some tips on how to get really good panoramic pictures. Now, it's a perfect storm right now between photographic equipment and computing software. In pre-digital days, getting panoramas often meant buying a very expensive equipment or spending hours and hours in a darkroom trying to stitch exposures together onto photographic paper. In essence, we still do that, but we do it in the computer now, where it's a lot faster and a lot cleaner. Now, the first thing about any successful panoramic photo expedition is finding your location. It can be anything really, anything you find interesting, as long as it's a nice long sweep. Now for us today, we're on the banks of the River Thames, and behind me across the river you've got Tower Bridge, the Tower of London, and the buildings of the City of London. This is going to be our subject for our first panoramic shot. So for sure, making panoramic pictures has become a lot easier in recent years. Better cameras, better software, etc. But one of the first things you really got to think about is you need a good, solid, stabilized position to shoot from, which means a good tripod, preferably one that's got a bubble, a leveling bubble on it built into it, and a good head. Either a pan head or, like this one, a ball head. Like all landscape photography, because let's face it, panoramics are just big landscapes, there's about three things you have to remember. First, white balance can be set to auto, and you can always adjust in the computer. Make sure everything's on manual, including the focus, shooting in manual mode and manual focus. Just make sure you check your focus before you start shooting. And shoot in RAW, because with RAW files, you've got much more flexibility in the computer. Little tiny mistakes are easily fixed. JPEG's not so easy. Let's get shooting. Now that your settings, of course, are going to be subject to the lighting conditions, and they will change. Now, we want some decent depth of field, right? So, because we're on a tripod, we can shoot around f8 to f11, I think. That will give us enough depth of field for a lot of clarity from the foreground to infinity. And the shutter speed will be whatever it is. So, for instance, for these shots, it was f11 at about 1/60th of a second. So that's our first series of pictures for our first panorama. Now the reason why I'm shooting vertically rather than horizontal, like this, is sure, horizontal you're going to use less images, probably faster as well. So for quick panoramas, that's a good way of doing it. But the resolution will not be as good as if you shoot them vertically, the way we just did. So I suggest if you want really good files, big files, shoot vertically. Also, when it comes to darkroom work, the computer darkroom work, is that you need some room to crop, because as this picture is stitched together in the photo merge in Photoshop, it's going to look a little jagged on the tops and bottoms. You're going to have to crop all that waste out. And if you shoot vertically, you can leave a little bit of air above and below your picture, which will give you room to crop better. London's such a great city. It's always changing. The skyline seems to change every month. And as a photographer, it's brilliant. But I see a really good spot over by Tower Bridge. We're going to head over there now. Let me put this stuff away. So the next thing we have to think about is lens choices. Always the big question. Now, I tend to stay away from wide-angle lenses when doing panoramas because they distort a lot and it can be really problematic once you're in the computer. So my choices are a 50mm and probably a short zoom, 24-70 up to an 80 to 200 zoom. It's got a little more control with these lenses. Now, In keeping with that, I know I always bang on about using your tripod as much as you possibly can, but sometimes it's not possible. So handheld panoramics can be done. There's just a couple of things you have to think about, keep in mind. We're going to choose this 24-70. First and foremost, really, is make sure that you've got enough shutter speed to avoid any kind of camera shake. So you're looking at around 250-ish. In conjunction with that, make sure you've got enough depth of field to give yourself enough focus, depth of focus. Just before I continue with this shot, creating this panorama, I suggest you set everything to manual, including your focus. So set your focus in auto and then switch it off to manual. That way your focus won't jump in and out as you swing the camera around. Now you want to get nice and stable. So when you got your camera cradled in your hands, firmly but gently, elbows in, nice and tucked in, give you some stability. Legs shoulder width apart, slightly bent but stable. Making sure your shutter speeds are fast enough to avoid any kind of camera shake, and making sure you've got enough depth of field to give you lots of focus in the picture. Let's try it. Just like when we're on a tripod, make sure you overlap your frames. If you don't overlap the frames, the panorama won't work. I just want to mention something about filters. Take them off. You don't need them on there. You can get away with a skylight filter, but definitely if you've got a polarizer mounted, take it off, because it will just mess with the sky. Anything like ND filters or grads, same thing, just get rid of them. So one of my favorite panoramas I shot recently was down in Greenwich, which is just down the river east of here, where I live basically. Sky was blood red. I woke up one morning, looked out my bedroom window, and saw this amazing scene over Canary Wharf. Fortunately, I've got a little skylight in my loft, climbed up there on a ladder, dragged my camera up there, and just started shooting. And it just turned out to be this fantastic panorama, about 8 or 10 frames across the scene, all the way from the BT Tower in the west of the city, all the way across to Canary Wharf, with this blood red sky. It's pretty amazing. So in the end, these are just some tips and tricks on how to create better panoramic pictures. It's by no means exhaustive. You've got to get out there yourself, try it out as much as you can, and just remember to learn from your mistakes. So that's it for me, and I'm Doug McKinlay for Adorama TV. Now don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV for more great videos, and tell us what you think. You can like, share, comment on this video, and please stop by the Adorama Learning Center for more great tips and tricks.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy-to-use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.